3, 2, 1, somewhere around here. Hello, everybody. I am hoping that we do not have any sound glitches or problems or anything like that today, because as y'all know, Ash is not here. Nope, he is not here. So this means that I am by myself with Moontag and Max, and we're supposed to have Dez on, but I believe he slept in. So yeah, whenever he gets here, we'll get here, and we've got a lot to talk about in the Gamescom world. So first of all, hello Moon, how are you doing?
Hello, doing good. How are you?
Good, good. And Max, how are you doing? Max? Max? Oh no, we lost Max.
Sorry.
Oh, there he
I
is.
had both things muted. Yeah, sorry. I was just waiting for there's a garage beneath me and it was going to cause a lot of noise. So, hello everybody.
Okay. Hello. So, we also supposed to have Dez on here. I'm sure he'll when he wakes up he'll pop on here.
Just say
there's a lot of-
Shadowlands 3 times and he'll appear.
Yeah. Shadowlands. So yeah, Max runs the Max Derrat channel, and Moontag is our new streamer, which we're going to be we're getting everything ready, but it's still a little ways off in terms of a couple of different things. So, alrighty. So in the chat, Sunglare believes that I can do it. Thank you. Thank you. Because yeah, whenever we run these, normally things just go sideways. Right now, I'm having a little bit of an issue with the image on screen. But seeing as this is primarily an audio cast, there's no need to really worry about it too much. And yeah, Ali Mahfouz, yes, no Ash today, which means I'm probably gonna end up burning down the studio. But then that's normal, because I leave ashes for Ash. So it's cyclical. It's totally cyclical.
Nice.
And yes, Moontag, you're a little bit loud, so just back off from the microphone just a little bit.
Just a teensy bit.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, right. Ew, here we go. Okay, this is... Okay, I'm going to be able to fix this... I'm going to be able to fix this image right away here. So yes, how has... So Gamescom's been going on for a while. And any, thoughts on so far, just generally how it's been going? Any standout stuff, both to our guests and then also in the chat. Anybody in the chat, please give me a shout out with what you're liking and what you're seeing and what you're interested in when it comes down to what we're seeing from Gamescom. Let me know, because it's going to be it's interesting.
Well, I'll defer to Moontag first because I'm sure she probably knows a lot more about it than I do.
Oh, no. Well, I got to look at the new Ratchet & Clank game. I'm super excited for that. It looks like a lot of fun portal jumping.
Mm-hmm.
The cinematics are great, of course.
I'll comment on Ratchet & Clank really quickly. I've never played, actually, any of the Ratchet & Clank games in my life. I owned the one that came out on the PS3, but I never played it. It was sort of my dad's game. But when I first saw the gameplay for this game back when the PS5 reveal happened, I believe that's when we saw it, I was blown away. God, I almost swore. That gameplay looks amazing. Like the particle effects, the detail, and it just... The simple gameplay of it, just shooting and the combat, it just looks fun. It reminds me of the old days when I used to play Crash Bandicoot and Spyro on the PS1, except in high def and with fire flying all over the place. And those rips in time, and the way it moves so smoothly, without any hiccups in the quality, it seems. I'm so down, man. I cannot wait to play this game. It's a day one buy for me. That is, if I have enough money to pay for the PS5.
Right?
And they're really pushing it, what they could do with it. And there are some people that are concerned about the female version of Ratchet. But I honestly I think from what I'm seeing I think they're going for a multi-dimensional thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm totally okay with that normally in the realm of like sci-fi games, because it's a pretty common trope, and it's a pretty common trope to have characters be different in different dimensions. One of my favorite episodes of I really like Stargate. Stargate is one of my favorite sci-fi shows, but this is also a common trope that's been used in Star Trek as well, quite a number of times. And I really liked how in Star Trek, people were the same, but they were like the opposite, like, morality from themselves and the other stuff. So they were evil, or in Stargate there was always a lot of like different people were doing the same jobs. Like in one episode, Samantha Carter went to an alternate Earth, and when she was in the alternate Earth, she met the President of the United States, who was her commanding officer in her normal reality. Now, of course, this was done to save cost on hiring actors, but it's the way that they did it was actually a really, really good episode. It was one of the best episodes that I think they had when they were dealing with this. Then in the Stargate Andromeda, they also had kind of, it was a very similar kind of thing where they had Rodney, a different Rodney come in from a different dimension, and he was like, normal Rodney was like quite like nerdy and not a super awesome like cool person. And yeah, this was he was clearly the complete opposite of that, because he was wearing a leather jacket, and he was suave, and he was debonair, and he was flirty, and it was great. And so, I mean, I get that it's a common trope. I don't like. I think from like how we're seeing it and how we're feeling it out so far, I think it just gives us the opportunity to add more interesting characters in kind of the what if scenario. So I'm not as annoyed with that as I have been annoyed with certain other like replacement things where they're going in and they're just taking the characters that we love and they're just trashing them. I don't have that sense, right? And that's a pretty common sense. Like when I see them rewriting like comic book characters all the time, which is which is a big peeve for me, because it's like you can't. So they're basically saying that they can't create new characters, that they have to use the same 140 characters that they already have. They can't expand on that. They can't create new powers. They can't be creative and come up with new concepts and new styles, and that's stupid, because we know that when we look at like the Spider-Man universe, they've got a ton of like really cool like noir Spider-Man. Is probably one of the greatest inventions ever.
Nick Cage and Enter the Spider-Verse.
The Nick Cage one is
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and so it's like how is his tie blowing in the wind? Like there's no wind in the room. It's like stuff like that where it's like, I think that the overall design from it is totally okay, and I'm not angry with it whatsoever, because it just seems to like it just, for me, it just kind of works, right?
Yeah, and it makes sense with like the way the storyline is going. Like they're literally jumping through dimensional rifts. They get separated, and like, of course, like he's not just gonna sit and wait for his friend to get back. He's gonna keep busy.
Now, forgive me for my lack of knowledge regarding the lore of Ratchet and Clank, but when I watched the trailer and I saw the original one that came out a couple months ago, that female Ratchet came out of nowhere. I was under the assumption that was just a completely different character. So are we sure that it is Ratchet, but just female from another dimension?
Well, we don't know that yet, and I would probably err on the side of... I would probably err on the side of like, we don't know that yet.
Okay.
It could be a future. It could be in the future too. It might not be an alternate. Yeah,
it could be from the future when he gets a sex change.
well, not that. I was thinking it could be like his daughter or his granddaughter, or just a different one. We don't want to Philip J. Fry thing
right
going on here, but that's honestly really funny. But I don't think they'd pull that. Where it's like, It's like you time travel to the future or the past to reprocreate with either your ancestor or your descendants, and that's how you have that. I don't think they're going to go that way, because that's a little.
It was okay in 1985 when they did it with Back to the Future, but nowadays, yeah, given societal norms.
I always wondered about that. And what was it? Was it? I can't remember if I'm pretty sure it was Family Guy who did it, but it might have also have been Robot Chicken, where the dad comes home one day of Marty McFly, and he's like, yeah, I'm starting to realize that, there was this kid we knew way back when, and he looks exactly like our son does today.
Oh.
I'm just, and he's getting all mad about it, and they're clearly having marital problems. But it's like, yeah, that's an oddball situation there, right?
Mm.
But
I think that was Robot Chicken, by the way.
Yeah, it was one of them. It was kind of weird, but when I look at that and I have that kind of a concept of like what they're like, they're messing with something clearly in the sense of like either there's a time shift or there's a dimension shift, and I'm not opposed to them bringing in new characters so long as the new characters are not spitting on the grave of the last character. That I hate that, because it's just you're just ignoring your fan base. You're just stomping on things, and you're just making things essentially terrible.
Well, of the options that might be in the air about who this character is, I do definitely like the idea of it being a female version of him, because just the amount of like hilarity that you can extract from that scenario, it just sounds perfect in my mind. It just sounds so wacky that would make the game even more anticipated for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, somebody in the chat was asking for Gamescom, not Gamescom. Bannerlord. Bannerlord's doing great. I think there's a big update that they have just done, and it looks great. 1.5 or E1.5. I'm not sure how their patch things work, but looks great. I think that was highlighted there at the Gamescom show. It looks great. I mean, Bannerlord's doing great. Again, typically this is one of the types of games that I'm interested in, but I haven't had a chance to play it. But it looks really solid, and it's been doing a really good job for the genre of like, mass scale battles and NPC battles and stuff like that. I just in the current setting, I'm not a super fan of the current setting of it. I like a little bit more fantasy in my massive control armies thing, but that's just me. But no, it looks pretty seriously good. And then what is RNC?
Ratchet and Clank.
Oh, derp. Oh my god. Yeah. So, yeah. No, it does look awesome. The ray tracing has really stepped up. I thought we would be seeing more of it right now, but I was expecting a big announcement, and I haven't seen any of that announcement that I was expecting to come out of Gamescom. I was expecting something big there, and it hasn't come yet. So, yeah, we'll kind of see how that goes. Apparently, I was expecting more, but not. It doesn't seem to have what I was thinking that they would have. Although Chorus, the new game Chorus, looks pretty interesting, and I think that's using pretty heavy. That's pretty heavy on the ray tracing too, and it seems to work really well because their world's it's a very dark world, so that's an interesting one. I would normally we would probably like show some of these trailers and show some of the videos coming out of these games, but I don't want to do that right now because I don't like there's so many problems with shutdowns and stream closures and all that kind of stuff, and I don't want to mess with that too much. We last week we had it again on the on the Cyberpunk Community podcast. We again got shut down. It was on Mad Queens, and we actually had to move it over to the Last Knowns because of all that. And again, it apparently was like, imagery or something like that, but it was spurred on by reports and mass reports from trolls and stuff like that. So it's been a headache dealing with that kind of stuff, which is weird because YouTube keeps saying that they want to try and avoid this. So,
but they never do anything. I mean, we should know this already, Sad. We've been on YouTube long enough. They don't care.
Yeah.
Sorry,
and it's
true.
It has been. It's been really frustrating, and now they're trying to make this move to like really like amp up their streaming platform, but yet they're not willing to like help us as creators like work around the constant problems that we're encountering from it. So it's like, okay, well, great. Excuse me. So yeah, there's a couple of games that are coming out by it, and I think I've said before, don't expect ray tracing to really, really start changing things on a massive scale until you kind of hit typically it's like the second gen cards. So we're looking at probably the cards that are coming out mid to late next year, or later even. And as far as the games go, there's very few games that have been designed from the ground up with ray tracing in mind. Like right now, we're only seeing a handful of them starting to come out and show off some like really amazing footage, but we won't see that like 100% until we get in really deep into the weeds later on. I saw some footage with World of Warcraft. I mean, that's like a 15-year-old game, and somehow they've managed to make that game look a fair bit better. With that, but we still have as of yet to see the NVIDIA lineup, and that's kind of I was kind of expecting that to kind of come out and showcase what they were doing with it. And so far, all we have is like a bunch of stuff that it's coming, but we haven't seen it yet. So this is going to be really interesting with what that means for NVIDIA and a bunch of these other companies. So yeah, that's a whole bag of worms here, but yeah. So one of the other big announcements I was wanting to pull in Dez to talk about this, but we also have the big announcement for Shadowlands, World of Warcraft. Speaking of it. With the new animation that came out. You may or may not have seen it. It's the Bastion animation. It's not a full animation. It's one of those like stop and go animations where they phase in stuff. I believe it was I think the last game that kind of did it and really like built their animations around it was Guild Wars 2, but WoW was using it because it's an easier way to do animation. But that one was spectacular, and it has already like made massive waves in that community. Moontag, you just watched it this morning. Max, did you have a chance to see it yet?
The animation, yeah, I did. It really made me. It's tempting, man. It's so tempting.
It's so tempting, right? I know.
I've said this on this podcast before, and I'll just say it very quickly again. World of Warcraft, I've had to quit that game twice in my life because it is so good. It's so addicting. And it's unlike any other game. You basically can do whatever you want in this mystical world. You get to meet all these wonderful people and create genuine friendships with them, friendships that last a long time. Even to this day, I'm still friends with people that I met on World of Warcraft. But I had to stop it because otherwise it would have ruined my life. But looking at this, sorry, just very quickly, looking at this Bastion animation and the new stuff that's coming out of it, God, I can grow wings and fly around this area. Are you kidding me? That looks so cool. Yeah.
It's so what you said there is like I've met a lot of people. It's the most amount of game developers that I ever met was through World of Warcraft, in the sense that I made friendships and I met people and at the time they were like teens or kids or like going through, or not kids but like like, you know, in grade 11 and 12, you know, when 15 years ago. And then, you know, just they got interested in the games universe, and then, you know, lo and behold, like 6 years later, they're working for studios and stuff now. And that's a good way to meet, like, that for me, that was one of the best ways to meet people, because I was very good at the game, and therefore I attracted a lot of people who were really interested in you know, pushing in hard or getting into the gaming industry. And I've had a lot of conversations with people over the years, and that kind of has stuck out. So it's kind of returning to it now for this expansion officially. Like, last expansion I came back for about, it was like 6 months or something like that. I was so annoyed with the game. Just BFA was garbage. It was just garbage. And they've managed to improve a lot of stuff since then, but it wasn't until I got into the beta and the alpha of Shadowlands did I finally actually see that Blizzard's actually trying to do right, and they're actively listening. In BFA's beta, you know, a whole bunch of people sent in, you know, reviews and tried to critique and tried to give some information, and pretty much all of them it all just dropped off the face of the planet. Just really dropped off the face of the planet as far as like them caring about that feedback. Blizzard didn't care. They didn't listen, and things went from bad to worse to worse to worse to worse, until a train wreck, basically. And we saw that it kind of like all came together in the whole moments of like, you know, is this a, you know, their BlizzCon, where people were like mocking them. Their own fans were mocking them and booing them. Like, that's a big problem. And I'm starting to see that some of Blizzard that is there now has been recovering and has been slowly trying to pull itself out. Now, Activision still has a lot of problems, and there's clearly a lot of problems in the upper management of Activision and some of the upper management at Blizzard, and there's still a lot of these problems, but there's now a noticeable fight going on for the soul of the company. There's a noticeable fight with developers that are trying to listen to their core fans and trying to take time to understand their feedback and then work off of that feedback. This is huge. This is really important. And this is going to tie in, Ali Mahfouz was asking about BioWare. This is going to tie into some info. I have some I probably should have led with this. I have some hot information from BioWare. We're going to talk about what was kind of announced, but we're also going to talk about some inside information that I just got, and I'm going to rage about that in a few minutes. So,
rage.
Yeah, no, it's not good. But at Blizzard, there is clearly now a fight. There's clearly devs that are pushing against the grain, that are saying, no, we have to connect in with our core fan base. We have to.
And let me guess, those people are at Blizzard, and the ones that are pushing against that are at Activision, or am I just being too?
No. I mean, I would say that Activision has the biggest problem. They're the ones who have made all of the worst decisions, and that the only hope that you'll have is in a handful of the studios. You got to remember that the publisher is almost always full of. I want to be kind. Yeah. I want to be kind, because not every publisher is like this, but most publishers are evil. And you go, wait, what, evil? No, literally, most publishers are evil. Think of all of the problems that we've had with publishers sending lawyers or goons to people's houses, to fans' houses, to threaten them. These are all decisions that are made by the publisher.
Take-Two,
and the publisher
EA,
concept,
Activision.
Yeah, and the publisher concept is like they walk into an artist's room and say, you got some great art coming here. I'm going to give you some money, but then I want to own what you're doing. It's a special type of terrible person who does that. It's a very special type of corporate controlling greed of people who want to interject themselves into your situation or an artist situation and dump on them and control them and strangle their creativity to force them into a mold that makes them do what they want them to do. Now, yes, publishers bring money, and artists often need money because, and publishers in certain circumstances can also bring control and structure that an artist needs at times. But it's still an industry that's primarily full of just really garbage people. Like not all of it, and there are some publishers out there who are really trying to do the best thing that they can for their subsidiary studios. And there are some people that have learned the mistakes and learned how to move back. And this, we have to say, we have to point at Microsoft and say they have learned. I mean, they almost lost that entire wing of the company. They got rid of a lot of bad blood there. They got rid of a lot of people that were problem people. And they came back to this concept of, let us help artists and developers make the games that they want to make.
As it should be.
Yep.
As it should be. And so clearly the industry can be saved, but this is a continual problem that you will run into. Sunglare mentioned wildlife and 100% on that kind of stuff. This is where you have these studios, and there's a lot of these studios, by the way. There's a lot of them. There's a ton of projects like this between Wildlife and Subverse, and then there's a whole bunch of other games that are coming out that are indie created. Some of them are kind of in a niche genre of like adult entertainment versus like standard, and these people are coming out with some really great products and really great projects, and they're really creating this stuff, and it's because they don't have a publisher that's kind of in there ruining their life for them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we can certainly address and see that developers, sometimes they need money and sometimes they need structure, but most of the time they need freedom, and that goes in the other direction from what a publisher normally brings to the table. So just kind of like bear that in mind. There's some stuff going on there. But what we can see at Blizzard is that there's a portion of the company that's starting to push back, and they're starting to really like listen. And this is the only reason why I've kind of come back to this, because this kind of encouragement, I'm supporting a bunch of Microsoft Studio games this year, and they're doing a really good job. And things are going good there. And this should be encouraged, because if we give up fighting for this, if we give up on fighting for the concept of this kind of freedom for developers and artists, if we give up on people who immediately like sign up to make a paycheck so that they can feed their family, take care of their family, if we give up on that concept and we just kind of shrink back and say, it doesn't matter, it's lost as soon as they sign with a publisher, it's lost, and you might as well just ignore it. We'll never get very much, and the gaming industry will always remain a niche thing. We have to give some level of support while at the same time allowing for people to grow and realize mistakes. And I rage a lot on the problems that people make constantly in the industry, and I rage on that, and I'll do rants on it. But I realize that I also need to kind of step out and try to help companies and help people that are either on the mend or they're trying to find a better way. So this is the main reason why I'm kind of stepping back into WoW, because it's also the fact that there's not very many other games in the entire universe where we can get like 40 people together, have them make tiny little gnomes, and then run around naked in a street surrounding like random people and chanting "one of us, one of us, one of us," and just watching the reaction that happens there, because that's really, really funny.
You led that mob, didn't you?
Oh yeah, no, multiple times. there's lots of fun to be had in that. So we're hoping to see stuff like that. I gotta say that the Fall Guys is looking like a great game. I haven't played it yet.
I want to play it so badly.
Yes, this is one of the games that we're gonna end up streaming a fair bit. I'm really excited for it. But right now it's like, oh my goodness, we don't have the time in the day to do anything. I was so busy this week, and things just kind of hitting the fan on multiple levels, and it was really tough to get in, reviewing Gamescom stuff, because it's like work was still sitting at. I mean, we're still pushing like 15, 16 hours on work every day, so it's crazy right now, and it'll be like that for probably about another month or two. And then things will calm down, and we'll be able to like really spend a lot of time, and we'll be doing like 8-hour streams and stuff like that. But yeah, this brings me over to BioWare. So we've got some stuff coming out of BioWare.
Lay it on us.
It's not good.
Bring on the tide rage. I want it. Come on.
Yeah. So Dragon Age 4 was somewhat teased at the convention. They had some screenshots, they had some interviews, they had some other stuff. They didn't show any like long-term gameplay. They showed a bunch of random stuff that they had been working on. And so I reached out to a friend, and a couple others reached out to me, and we had some discussions on it. This is coming from developers who have been at the studio for a very long time. I won't get into too many details because I don't want to oust them. The developers say, and I quote, this is a dumpster fire. You thought that Anthem was bad. This is worse. This is worse. Right now, it is worse. And I go, oh dear. Oh dear. So what's worse about it? He says, well, the engine and the graphics are improving, and it looks great. There's a lot of things that look great, and they covered in him, the leader of the studio. For some reason I cannot remember his name right now. The current head of the studio. He had this little video, and he talked about his inspiration in the game and all this kind of stuff, and he's like saying, it's really good. They've implemented a bunch of this stuff. They have all this, like, they're creating like original monsters and creatures and content and that all the visual aspect of it looks good. Anthem looks great in screenshots, but as everybody knows from having played it and all that kind of stuff, that the game is kind of a dumpster fire as far as actual gameplay, and then story is just atrocious, and implementation, it's just garbage, and itemization, it's worse than garbage, and it's just an absolute mess. So when I was digging into, well, what's going on with the studio right now, what is everything looking like at the moment? The answer. Sorry to interrupt you quickly.
Casey Hudson, is that the name of the GM?
Yeah, I believe.
Okay.
So, he did a thing. Anyway, at any rate, it's so the feedback that I've gotten from my contacts is that the story is loose, doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's not very coherent. They're also focusing on things that many people believe is not helpful to connecting you in with the lore of Dragon Age. Dragon Age 4 doesn't seem to have any connection to any of the previous Dragon Age games. Which I'm like, okay, this is not good, because you're there. If this is true, and again, take this all with a grain of salt. If this is true, then the game is not going to be reminiscent of. It's only going to feel like Dragon Age on a very loose way. Combat's been redesigned again. You know how the first Dragon Age was all about like strategy and planning, and then the second Dragon Age was all about actiony combat, and there was no logic or forethinking at all. And then Inquisition was like basically just a bot control game. it's just a mess. Yeah, no, it's not Casey Hudson, it's the other guy. It's just a mess, and that's what they've been saying for a while now. And the game was originally designed to be one thing, and some garbage, some absolutely terrible person from EA came in and said, "Oh no, guys, you can't have this. You got to do this." And we kind of we've covered this before. The concepts that I could tell you about what they were dealing with the first remake, with the first pitch of the original Dragon Age 4 concept, was completely different. It was all about, having this team, having this community, going out and doing certain activities in almost any way possible. If you wanted to go in and have a body count of like 150 different creatures on a mission, you could play it like that. If you wanted to go in and talk your way through absolutely everything, have no blood at the end of the mission, and you could do that with a bunch of like courtesans and like and a couple of spies. It's like you could do that. But now you don't have those options. Now you have these options that follow a very linear story featuring a handful of characters, and you're playing an experience that they've written for you to experience, and there's very little control that you have over it. And that's terrible.
Yeah. That's so obviously we know all about the inner workings of EA, like Jason Schreier, I think, sort of exposed a lot of that back when Anthem came out. What is it exactly that is sort of contributing to the worsening conditions there? Is it sort of the aftermath of Anthem? Is it just EA constantly just trying to mess with their creative endeavors and their willingness to try new things? Is it a combination of all those things, or something I'm missing? Like, what do you think it is?
I believe that the a lot of the problems that we saw coming up to it right now, a lot of the things. Oh no, Case Hudson is the one in charge right now. Sorry, he left the studio and then he came back. He's the current general manager. Anyways, sorry. So a few years ago, they had a lot of bad decisions that started to affect Dragon Age 3, and then has really started to really obviously affected Mass Effect. Andromeda really affected Anthem, like in a big, huge way. A lot of the people that were responsible for some of the worst decisions in that chain are not only still at the company, but now they've just gotten higher as other people have left. An enormous number of developers have left the company and have gone out to join a couple different studios. And this has really, really impacted the company as a whole, because there's less people there that were involved in the original games. There's now only a fraction left of people who worked on the original Dragon Age, for example. There's only a fraction of people there that worked on that game that are there today. Most of those people have moved over to a couple different studios. Archetype Entertainment being one, and then there's another studio that's actually still based in Edmonton, where people have been flocking to. That Edmonton studio is getting bigger and bigger by the day, and they are working on a couple different things that I can't talk about right now. Archetype Entertainment, they have the parent organization is Wizards of the Coast. They're based out of Texas, and for the most part, they've been absorbing a fair number of the people from from Austin BioWare, and a handful of people from the old Edmonton office as well. So right now, this has been it's been a long-term thing, and this Dragon Age 4 is really the I mean, this is make it or break it for BioWare now. You know, Anthem was a total flop, a total embarrassing flop. I mean, in the grand scale of things, would I want to be, you know, would I want to have found myself to be in charge of Anthem when it dropped, when it was released, or Fallout 76 when it released? And frankly, I would rather be in charge of Fallout 76 when it dropped, because that was a dumpster fire. But at least the game is still going on, and at least it's maintaining a slow but growing population of players who actually find it pretty decent now. Yeah. Where's Anthem? When was the last time you heard about Anthem? Really? Last time I heard the numbers, there was like 50 people playing Anthem. I think you can
who the hell are those 50 people?
I know, right? I mean, like I don't understand that. And that's kind of like the you know,
there's so many other better games that you could be playing with your time, man. Like even games that are made by EA. Go play Jedi Fallen Order, for goodness sake.
Yeah. So right now there's currently just under 1,200 viewers watching Fallout 76. That's right now on Twitch. That's not counting other platforms. Right now there are, I think, looks like 14 people watching Anthem right now. Man. So which of those would I rather be in charge of if I had to choose? It's like, well, clearly, you know, out of the two. So at any rate, the game is.
Sorry to interrupt, dude. How do you check? Actually, no, never mind. I'll check. I just not try to look at Twitch trends, but I was just curious at what Knights of the Old Republic looks like on Twitch right now compared to Anthem.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, I'll look it up. I bet.
There's also a comment from Dracula in the chat, which kind of echoes me. I haven't played any of the Dragon Age games, but from what I've seen, it's not a franchise that you can make family friendly.
No, they're sure going to try. And I mean, Blizzard, you know, and this is another stupid decision from Blizzard. Blizzard's trying to do that with Diablo. Diablo features, I mean, I remember playing through the original Diablo. There were body parts and there was like clear indications of like violations against humanity that you cannot say. If we talked about, we would get the stream demonetized or even taken down. If you talked in detail of the things that happened in Diablo 1 and 2. But for some odd reason, they think that this is a perfect thing to bring to the iOS and have as a family-friendly, family-focused video game in the future. You know, and my idea for their commercials is it's going to be like, you know, there's gonna be some kids like, I want to play Diablo now. Oh, sure thing. You say hello to that nice Mr. Devil, Lord of Destruction, Chaos, and Death, and a bunch of other stuff that I can't say right now. You make sure you say hi for me. Okay, we will. It's like, what level of family friendliness? Like, it's disgusting.
No.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I can't find another better way to state that. And so it's garbage. It's stupid.
Even though we have unicorns, apparently.
Yeah.
Season 3.
So I suspect that we're going to see Dragon Age 4 drop out, and it's going to have a pretty terrible narrative. From everything that I'm hearing in, I watched very briefly. There wasn't a lot of information in the in the info that they put out in the Gamescom thing yesterday. There just really isn't a lot of info. They talked about, the game is going to have a storyline where, you know, you're fighting against the power. It's like, isn't that every game? like. I mean, how many games where you played do you start as the powerful and controlling and you fight against, like, you know, I don't know. It seems kind of weird. The way that they phrased it, it's like, so it's basically like every other video game. Okay, sure. So there wasn't a lot of info there, but basically the feeling from the handful of people at the studio who have made successful games, and this is something else that I want to point out. A lot of the people that are in controlling positions now, that are making decisions at studios, and I'm not just talking BioWare, I'm talking a lot of other studios. There's a lot of people in a lot of very powerful positions at a lot of studios that are making decisions on where games need to go and what games need to focus on, and microtransaction this and microtransaction that. None of these people have ever made a successful game. Think about that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who have only failed upwards in their career. And those people are everywhere at these studios. What a joke. What an absolute joke that you can have a bunch of people who have done nothing but fail upwards. Like, just constantly failing upwards. Of like, hey, what was your first game that you worked on? Oh, it was a terrible travesty that went bankrupt and bankrupted the studio that I worked at. What was your second game? Oh, another bankrupted studio. Oh, well, what was your third game? Oh, it was a game that was universally panned as one of the worst games for the fandom ever. And you know what? I'm going to hire you as our next CEO. You got what it takes, man. I have always I am tired of working at this company. I'm going to hire you, put you in charge so that you can destroy this company so I can just retire. It's like...
Sorry, but I don't understand. Like, how is that able to happen, though? Because if the game is bankrupted, the studio, how does another employer look at that on their resume and say, "Yeah, let's hire you"? I
don't know.
Like,
it is truly mind-boggling, and I cannot tell you how or why this thought process happens when they look at some of these people and go, what have you worked on? What successful thing have you worked on? I've worked on nothing successful. Everything I've worked on has either been universally panned as a terrible thing or made no money. How are these people getting hired? I do not know. And I seriously cannot tell you. I don't even have a theory for it, other than people are just mad and insane and they're just believing what.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a theory. I've mentioned before, I do a lot of analytical work, and there are a lot of bad analysts in the industry that look at stuff, big, huge, important pieces of stuff, of data, of things that are going on right now that's going to change the future for everything and for everyone. And big, important stuff that you need to know about, and have as an accurate representation of, in order to do your daily day-to-day life. In one scenario, in the past few years, I'm sitting with some analysts, and me and a handful of other ones get our accuracy predictions within 90+% range, which is almost unheard of. You can't do this. Like, normal people can't do this, and that's why I'm insane and crazy. Then you have a bunch of people that follow along who get it right in the 10% or less range. And these are the people who are paid $1 million a year by big corporations who continue to pay them. Like, I don't understand how all of these people weren't fired the last time, which was a few years ago. The last time they made a horrendous mistake. And they made a mistake on such a grand scale that it's literally gone down in the history books of, like, how could you screw this up? And those people still have jobs. Not only do they still have jobs, in some cases they're now running the departments. And they haven't learned a goddamn thing. And I guess, yeah, Game Notes, I guess you're right. It boils down to people skills. And by people skills, we mean something else that we can't talk about.
Yeah, no, even like a lot of my work experience has started out in like office environments. So just like watching how people and like the office interacts. Like, there's a lot of people who just know how to talk themselves into things, or just sometimes an opportunity lines up and just things happen where you don't really expect, wow, that person got there, huh?
There are a lot of people that are like Ellis from Die Hard. Bubby, I'm your guy. I can get you the money.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Even though I do a good impression, I'm not one of those people. See, I'm not a scumbag that, yeah. Anyways.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, things are changing in the industry. Obviously, there's lots of newer companies that are coming out and are going to be replacing these. We had this happen before in the gaming industry. There was a gaming crash in the 80s that destroyed a lot of gaming studios and studios that were at the top of their game, on the very pinnacle of stuff, but they weren't growing, they weren't experimenting, they weren't morphing into things that people wanted. They only continued to make what they only knew how to make, and they chased out anybody who had new ideas. And what happens with this is what happens with everything, is that ultimately things happen and situations come into control and they force people out. So yeah, it's a huge problem. It is a huge problem. And what we end up seeing from this is just what nature naturally does, is when something gets rotted out, it falls over, it collapses, and some new growth comes in and takes over. So yeah, and I mean, and nature is really like, I was mentioning on Wednesday that I had a wonderful discussion with one of our community members about ecology, and specifically around ecology of preventing forest fires. And one of the biggest problems with forest fires now is that we don't let things naturally burn out, and or we don't create we do things that are, you know, not helpful to the local ecology, such as like when people move into an area, they have a bad habit of setting up dams and irrigation and stuff like that moves water into places that it wasn't normally supposed to go, or keeps it away from places that it normally would have gone, and then the ecology of the area completely changes. This is what I love about our Discord community. So if you're interested in having interesting, fun, engaging conversations and hanging out with lots of cool people and joining streams and internal streams and external streams and stuff like that, join our Discord community. We've got a lot of great people there. But yeah, this was a conversation I had this week, and it was really great. We couldn't get really deep into it, but it was like, yeah, it was fun to talk about. But this is kind of like what nature does in these scenarios, where these companies they show up, they start to produce products, they get wildly successful, they become very, very large, and then just after time they just stop evolving and growing and listening to their fans, and they just decide that they know what's best, and then they end up like decaying out, they fall over, and they basically become food for the next generation of things. And sadly, I think if it's as bad as what I'm hearing at BioWare, then this is the end of BioWare. This will be basically their last game. They might get away with doing another Mass Effect, but just with the problems and where they're headed, and with the fact that, like, I'm looking at this, and sure, graphically they've gotten a lot better, but from what I'm hearing about the gameplay and what I'm hearing about the narrative and the story, they've learned nothing from the last two games, the last two flops, and we're probably going to end up seeing this flop again. And this time, I really don't think that they're going to come back from this.
Hashtag FDA.
Yeah. So that's and I mean, that's really sad, because, like, and again, grain of salt, game is still quite a ways away. By the way, if in case you were wondering, basically this means that Dragon Age 4 has been in development for, I mean, we're pushing in on 5 years now, and it looks like it's going to be another 2 to 3. Like, I hate to say it, but it looks like it's going to be 2 or 3. The stuff that they showed off yesterday at Gamescom was stuff that I would expect. To me, it looked like vertical slice, which is the step before the step that you get when you're doing an alpha. So, unless that footage is like well over a year old, and it could be, honestly could be, companies have done this in the past, it looks as if what we're seeing from Dragon Age now the public information that's coming out about it now that they put out now is showcasing, like, they put out a couple of teasers and hints and stuff like that about a year ago to try and keep people interested after the debacle of Anthem. And they were like, hey guys, we're working on this and it looks really cool. It looks like they took it back to basics and completely rebuilt it from the ground up again. And if you're counting, this would be the third time that they've done this. Anytime you're scrapping your game and rebuilding it from scratch, I mean, you got to have deep pockets if you're doing that, because you are burning so many resources. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see where this goes. I hate to say it, but it's looking bad, and the information that they put out yesterday just confirmed what I've been hearing for the past few months, is that they haven't learned anything. There's a bunch of people in control that have power there that have never made a successful project ever, who don't know what they're doing and are just going with, I feel like this is something that's going to work. And it's like, no, it's not going to work. And they're not listening to the people who know that it's not going to work. So yeah. We can briefly talk about something that should hopefully give everybody at least a little bit more positive, some more positive stuff. And this is another B studio that I'm going to mention here that everybody's going to cringe at. But Bethesda did put out some light information about Starfield. And it was the same. It wasn't actual information. It was like talking information. So just a bunch of people. Yeah, it's just some interviews where they mentioned things. They mentioned that this is going to be worth the wait, and that they have been working on this for a very long time, and that they're really interested in getting this going. So what's the difference between this and BioWare working on their current project? So as far as we can understand, Starfield has been under development, since before Skyrim. As far as like story, lore, creating the universe, creating the world, and has been under hard development now for at least 3 to 4 years, at the very least. There's some rumors that it's closer to 5. Where are they in the development course of things? As I understand, if this game had been Skyrim, it would have released a year and a half ago. So I want you to, I'm hoping I'm going to explain this correctly. So bear with me, and Moon and Max, if I end up going off and not losing you, please let me know.
Okay.
So Starfield's development process, in terms of content, replayability, depth of content, depth of system content, so like actual like gameplay mechanics, is a year and a half post where they released Skyrim in that same process. So if you had two dimensions where these two teams were working on both games at the same time, tracking their progress as far as like vertical slice, alpha or pre-alpha, alpha, beta, and then release, the amount of post-polish that Bethesda has put into Starfield has been a year and a half more than what they had even considered doing in Skyrim.
Okay, I understand.
So Skyrim was released. It was very buggy, had a lot of problems. It was so buggy that they created the meme. Bugs are a feature, or is it a feature or is it a bug? Right. What we're starting to see now, and what we're starting to get from the internals, and what they're certainly, of course, what they're trying to put out from their image, is that no, Starfield has been improved well beyond what they would normally have released a game at, with its improvements and with its content.
Okay.
If this is the case, then then Starfield is going to be the most polished game Bethesda has ever released. By a factor of about 300 to 400% more time invested in polish stage than any of their previous games.
You know what? That actually kind of might make sense because,
Well,
yeah.
yes, it makes sense not only for that, but it also makes sense in the term of the amount of bad press and pushback that they got on 76. 76 was a dumpster fire. It was an absolute piece of garbage when it released. And the game right now, I encourage you, if you don't believe me, that's fine. I don't expect you to believe this, but the game right now is playable and is decent. Now, you may have some disagreements with the story and the lore and some of the aspects of the gameplay loop. Those are totally acceptable. But the game, as it stands right now, and they put out some information on a coming patch. Barring the bugs that you encounter because it is an older client, it is an older engine, trying to force feed a lot of this stuff into it without having undergone a complete engine replacement, or like without, not an engine replacement, but like a total like refit. You got to remember that the Epic engine that you're playing Fortnite on right now is essentially the same engine that's been around for the last like 15 years.
Right.
And this is the difference between Bethesda and Fallout 4 compared to, Epic and the launch of, the Fortnite Battle Royale, is that their engine at Epic had been constantly improved and improved and improved and improved, and whole things were gutted, taken out, replaced, but it's essentially the same engine code. It's like, sure, you've replaced the broom handle, then you've replaced the mop, then you've replaced the broom handle again, then you've replaced the mop, and you've done that so many times. Is it still the same broom? From the original broom that you had.
Mm-hmm.
And you've replaced the pieces on it so many times that it's essentially a new thing. It's been a new thing multiple times over, and that's how the Epic engine has worked. We still haven't seen that quite done with the engine that Bethesda has had. However, one of the big things in the development process is that they have really gone in and completely rooted out their engine. Carlo E in the chat, I hope they upgraded the character models and animation technology of their engine. They have to do it for next gen.
Yeah.
Carlo, I can tell you for sure, 100%, the entire animation engine and all of the technology around their character models has been largely completely replaced, not with a newer system that's different, but a system that has been restructured from the ground up to be still as easy to use as the previous system was. So there's still that modder friendliness there, but it has been greatly improved, and it is no longer carrying around the baggage of 5 development cycles in the past, which is what Skyrim and Fallout 4 had. They had a lot of baggage from that stuff, and 76. They had a lot of baggage from previous iterations of the game where they had done things and just done them really poorly, but they had continued to do them because they were easy to fuddle with. And they are now have been working on improving this, better and better and better and better. So again, does this mean you can trust Bethesda? No. 76 has proven the fact that we cannot trust Bethesda at face value, anything that they say, because not only have they lied, they've lied repeatedly, and then they've lied about those lies. Some of those things may not necessarily be their fault, and I want to iterate this quite clearly. If your job is a PR person and your boss shows up and says, I need you to say this, and what he wants you to say is either a lie, or it's probably going to end up being a lie, and you're probably going to end up taking a lot of the heat for it, that's on you to decide whether or not you're going to walk away from that job. Are you going to stop, are you going to run the risk of not being able to feed your family, or are you going to sit down and say, okay, I'll say this, but I'm going to do it under protest, and oh yes, when this hits the fan down the road, the next time you ask me to say this, I reserve the right to not say what you want me to say. I reserve the right to do whatever the hell I want to do and to walk away from your garbage, essentially. And you're going to be the one carrying the problem when it comes down to the board meeting where there's a big issue and we're in front of the board talking with all of the investors as to who screwed this up. You are going to have to walk in. I'm going to walk in with this email of you telling me that I had to do this, and then me saying under protest, no, this is a gigantic mistake. We're not going to do this. Then they said, do it or you're fired. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to do it, but you're going to watch as this blows up in your face. Do you do that or do you quit? What do you do? Now, again, I know that a lot of people would have preferred, people to quit and to walk away from their job and to walk out and say, hey, warning, this game is going to be garbage. It's going to be trash. But at the best, you're just going to have to rebuild a new studio from the ground up. At worst, you don't get a job and nobody cares and nobody comes to swing and to bat for you, and you're left hanging, holding on to the bill at the end. Which of those two things do you do? Now, some people, Misha in the chat, you'd say you'd walk away from the job, and I mean, I've been under similar circumstances a few times, and I've walked away from those jobs where it's like, okay, fine. If you're not willing to listen to me, if you want to create a disaster, be my guest. And for me, it felt good doing that, but in the end, that didn't really help the situation. That didn't help me, and that didn't help the people that I was working with. It didn't help my coworkers. It didn't help some other stuff. Would I do the same thing again? Yeah, I don't know. Would I have tried to find a better way to change things, a better way to alter things? I don't know, because each situation is different, right? Mm-hmm. And hindsight, of course, is perfect. Sorry, Moon?
Oh, devil's in the details, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so.
React when you're put in certain situations, because it's like you come up to things with like what you've experienced and like what you feel confident doing, right? And like you said, like there's a lot of responsibilities that people have that they have to weigh, because it's like not only is their life affected, but the people around them too, right?
Yeah. And negotiation doesn't always work. This is true. It doesn't always work. It's your best option in any scenario, in any situation. It is always your best option is to negotiate and control your own destiny. And that's a good thing, but it doesn't always work, and sometimes it doesn't get you what you want. So what I'm saying for Bethesda is don't believe what they say, but also watch what's going to happen, because I guarantee you this is going to be interesting. And you're going to want to pay attention to what is happening here, because there is some serious movements going on both at the company and then also some other stuff going on in the industry around them. But we're about to see a major shift in this particular company. Either it's going to crash and burn, or we're going to get a product that is the best that team has been able to make. I talked about BioWare. I talked about BioWare and how a very small fraction of the original people at that company that made and worked on it's not even one of their first game. It's just one of their more recent games. Dragon Age 1. So few people are there working on the same project now for Dragon Age 4. So few people. And all of the best people, most of them are all gone. The writers, they're all gone. The creative content people, the people who came up with the gameplay, the people who fleshed out the combat system, almost all of those people are gone. And they've been replaced with people who, frankly, in my humble opinion, don't know how to make a game for squat.
Yeah.
We are about to see Bethesda and essentially the majority of the team that worked on Skyrim working on another game that they've been able to upgrade the engine. They have a completely new inner run system when it comes to both the animation, the audio capture, the lip capture system, the lip syncing system, the animation, the character models, the world, the environment. We're about to see a game that they spent the same amount of time on for Skyrim and for Fallout 4, that they've put another year on top of the time that they spent on those games working on this game and perfecting the systems that are in this game. And it's the same people. It's the same team, largely the same team. They've had more people come in, but not very many people that were working on Skyrim have left and worked on other games. The majority of that studio is still the same people and the same teams that have been working there for the past 10 years. We're about to see them put out a product that they have been polishing and working on and reworking on and improving for all this time. So, when Starfield drops, we are going to... First of all, they made a promise, and they did make a promise, and this promise I can guarantee you we're going to be able to hold on to. The next time we see something for Starfield, like something actual, we're going to see lots of gameplay. We are not going to see, ooh, look at the fancy trailer, and then, buy it on this date, and then they walk away. We're not going to see that. We're going to see actual gameplay. Long footage of actual gameplay. And we're going to see that live, most likely live and done live, not necessarily like pre-recorded and edited gameplay. We're probably going to see gameplay live. And if this is the case, we're going to see this industry kind of shudder in response to that. So this is interesting. This is very, very, very interesting.
So can I say a couple things in regards to all of that?
Sure, yeah.
So first of all, everything that you just said is very, very encouraging. And it sort of addresses the fears that gamers have been having about Bethesda ever since Fallout 76 came out. Fallout 76 generated so much ill will towards Todd Howard and Bethesda as a whole. The memes that came out of that failure, 16 times the detail. It's just absolutely, it's palatable how much people have turned their backs on Bethesda with the mess that was Fallout 76. Plus, not a lot of people like Rage 2. I mean, there were some, but it was okay. Mm-hmm. And then Doom Eternal, even though Bethesda was the publisher, that wasn't really their work. That was id Software. So everybody knows that the future, and even Todd Howard knows this most of all, that the future of the studio rests entirely on Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. It's those types of games that made Bethesda the legendary studio that it is, and it is those games that will continue their legacy. If Starfield isn't at least great, then Elder Scrolls 6 would have to be the greatest game of all time for them to be able to survive. Mm-hmm. And what you just said to me is really, really good to hear, because what have people complained about Bethesda games and forever? It's like buggy. They try to fix one bug and that produces two other bugs. So to hear that it's the same team that's behind Skyrim, they're putting a lot of time into the polish, making sure that it is going to be as good as all the games that we love Bethesda for, that's really great. Now, the second thing, very quick thing, everything that you said, does that sort of indicate that next year we're probably going to see the game?
Yeah, no, we're not going to see it this year. For sure, we're not seeing it this year. There's too many major titles coming out. There's too many things that are, for the most part, very similar to the game. So they're just going back and they're just reworking on this stuff. One of the other things that is very interesting about Bethesda games, and the good thing about the engine that they're using, is if they create a game and it's completely based around, let's say, 1K graphics, and then they see a bunch of stuff come out, and there's some new stuff, and there's some new lighting technology, or the everybody's game system has gone great, they can go in and replace that 1K graphics pack with a 4K graphics pack. And everything suddenly looks 4 times better. So this is something that this engine can do. It's one of the major reasons why people still play Skyrim and Fallout 4 today, years and years and years and years after the game has come out. We're coming up on a decade. And one of the main reasons is because you could take these big graphic packs and these big animation packs, and I mean, the original game has like 4,000 animations. I can drop there. My last time I loaded up the game, I had 37,000 animations. Woo! 37,000 animations. That's a lot of stuff. But if you do it right, you can get it working, and it works beautifully.
Yeah, it does.
And there is currently, and I want to mention this, there is currently a new system for modding Skyrim. Everybody needs to pay attention to this. There's a new way of modding Skyrim and Fallout, where basically modders have gone through, they've picked out all of their favorite mods, then they've gone through tediously getting everything to work just right, making it absolutely perfect, compressing that file down to it's basically a single install. And it basically takes the base game, adds all of these features onto it, all of these technologies, all these ABMs, all these additions, all these alterations, and then you come out with an actual game that is actually working without any of the bugs, without the constant crashing, because they've gone through, these people have gone through and have meticulously fixed 99% of them themselves, and they've had to do this. And this is the beautiful nature of the modding community. A community of modders that can come to the game and fix the problems that the developers don't have the time, the energy, or the money to fix. Mm-hmm. And I want to reiterate that modders have they have a hard time doing this, but it's a passion project. It's a project of love, and it's a project that makes things work. And I'm not just saying this because we made one of the biggest mods for Fallout 4. I'm not just saying it for that reason, but it is because we love the game. Mm-hmm. We love the content. We love the interaction. We love building something for communities, for people to enjoy. And so this is what this new system, and this is why I love modding. This is why Cyberpunk needs modding. Mm-hmm. This is why Baldur's Gate 3 needs modding. And you need modding pretty early on. Not like 10 years later, not 5 years later, not 4 years later. Give us this access to those tools as soon as you finish putting out essentially your major, one of your major expansions. Give us those tools as quickly as you can, because that's going to change. That's going to make the life of your game, the life of your product is going to make it infinitely better.
I need a flying car in Cyberpunk 2077. I need it.
Maybe on that one. There's some minor issues with that, but yeah,
it'll be okay, Si.
Yeah. So this is generally good news. Now, this did come out again. This came out at Gamescom. Not all everything that I've said, but they came out and kind of talked about it, teased it a little bit. We're definitely not getting this. So far, and I have no inside information on when it's dropping, but I would say just looking at what they're doing and what they're planning for, and I think the things that they want to avoid, I think we're going to be seeing this game in 2021. Probably at its earliest, and they'll probably drop it sometimes. I would probably say about this time next year is when we're going to see our first hands-on for Starfield. So that'll be really interesting. But yeah,
that means we have a full year to play Cyberpunk, and then
basically. Cool. We got a full year to play a couple of the different games. So,
and just before we move on, can I just quickly plug in regards to the Bethesda, the modding community around Bethesda games? If you guys sort of underestimate the love that modders put into those games, let me recommend you guys look up two things real quick. Okay, look up Skywind and Skyblivion. That's one of the things. It's sort of what it is they take Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind and Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, but give it Elder Scrolls 5 gameplay and graphics. That's what Skywind and Skyblivion are. It looks amazing, and I'm looking forward to both of those games more than pretty much any game that's coming out in the future. And second of all, beyond Skyrim. Imagine that you can go to every province in Tamriel in Skyrim. You can cross over the borders that were originally, blocked off in the main game. That actually exists. And people are working on the provinces of Cyrodiil, of Morrowind, of Hammerfell, I believe, and Valenwood, and Blackmarsh. And you can go to all these places. And it's all in active development. If you guys want to have your mind blown, look up Beyond Skyrim, Skyblivion, and Skywind. And just go down a huge rabbit hole that'll put smiles on your face.
That sounds amazing.
It is.
Yeah. And this is just the beginning. Again, one of the greatest mods for Fallout New Vegas came out, and I'm pretty sure it's Project California, New California. Great game, absolutely great game. It's a complete and total alteration to the base game. It's got a ton of lore. a lot of original lore, a lot of lore from the community. The original, the original community on the was really involved in the Fallout world, and it looks great. I am stoked for it. I am very excited for it, and it looks really, really solid. So yes, it's been pretty awesome.
Yes. Speaking of awesome, it's really great to see everybody so active in the live chat there. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit that like button. It likes it rough, so, give it a nudge.
But not too rough, because, you might hit it twice and then just unlike the video, so.
Right. And keep the conversation going. Find some other company in our Discord. Join the link in the subscription there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I am just looking for. Yes. Okay. So for other news for today, so Wasteland 3 has dropped. It is out live. If you guys are interested in watching a stream of this play, let me know. I'm kind of interested in it. I was a little annoyed and saddened by the by some of the stuff that I had seen recently, but that was all pre-release, so I don't know how much of that they've fixed. If you're interested in that, let me know. I'm still somewhat interested with that, although my next turn-based game is probably going to be the Warhammer game. There was another Warhammer game actually announced at Gamescom, just I think it was yesterday or the day before. Looks like we have it's set back in the medieval Warhammer, so not the 40K, but the medieval one. And it's like people fighting undead. So the Empire fighting undead. So that looks really interesting. I'm stoked for that one as well. So yeah, that'll be interesting. But let us know what kind of games you are interested in, and we'll go from there. All right. Does anybody else have any things in the comments here from you guys watching? Is there any other games that you guys that you noticed? Mafia remake is looking really good. There's a couple other games that was kind of announced. There's a bunch of indie games that were talked about, and then we've also got a couple other like oldies. Star Wars Squadrons. How's everybody feeling on the Star Wars Squadrons? Again, EA product, unfortunately, but they are having more. They're having more of an ability to self-run themselves with that studio. So it's looking really good, I think.
Is it a
thoughts on that?
Quick question? Is it a console game or a mobile game?
Squadrons? No,
Yeah.
it's a full-on game.
Oh, I didn't know that. I was always under the impression that it was mobile. Well, if they can play it on console, then damn, I'm excited. Sure.
Yeah, no, it's like a flight sim basically. But yeah, no, it looks really good. It looks really interesting. Yes, of course, we also had the announcement for Witcher Go. Go around and capture all those monsters. Yeah,
Witcher.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Can you just imagine walking through the forest one day and you just see this one really fat dude doing a really bad cosplay of what's his name from Witcher, Geralt, and then he's just vigorously tapping his phone trying to kill this guy. It's like, what the heck? I just go home, go into a ball, and just cry. It's like, what has humanity come to?
Oh, man.
Yeah. We've got 12 minutes. I haven't seen that one yet, but I'm told people are really liking that one. Then we've got Lemnis Gate. Looks interesting. Got Definitive Edition for Age of Empires 3. Looks really, really solid. Another game that, man, I don't know if I'm going to have time to play this one or not. And it's really sad because it's looking really, really solid. Unknown 9 Awakening looks really interesting. Don't know very much about it yet, but looks pretty spectacular. And then, of course, probably the game of the year. A game of deep passion and love and moments of incredible, difficult decision-making. Surgeon Simulator 2. Yes, probably most definitely the game of the year.
Take another man's life into your own hands and then throw his insides across the room.
Yes, and then replace his heart with a clock or a stick of dynamite or chicken. Whatever. Just whatever.
Operation.
You want. And yes, if you're not getting it, it's clearly a joke. I can't believe Sam thinks that Surgeon Simulator 2 is going to be the game of the year. No, I don't. I really don't. But it's very funny. It's a very funny game. Sam and Max. And then we got another update for Destiny 2. They're going to a cold planet now. And there's nothing more I enjoy than watching a bunch of people in heavily winterized gear running around going cold wind blows ice. Yeah. Like I don't get enough of that in my yearly existence. By the way, the Warhammer game is called Sigmar Stormground. That one looks really interesting. And there was more info out about Crash Bandicoot. And
woo! Man, I'm excited.
Yeah, I know. It's looking solid. Then we've got more info about the Outriders. It's looking interesting. Not sure if it's my thing. We did
Little
get
Nightmares too.
We also got Necromundo Under Hive Wars has gotten a little bit more. There was a stream out. The game is looking good. It's not. I wouldn't say this is a AAA game. Not by far, but it is looking really good. Excuse me. And then we've got Teardown coming in, Godfall, Override 2, more Star Wars Lego games, which seems to be the only successful Star Wars project lately.
It's so cute. I was watching a trailer of it earlier.
New game called Chorus. I talked about this one when we were talking about the ray tracing effects. Looks good. Looks interesting.
Did you see this game? Like, it was announced a while ago, but I think there was like new gameplay that came out of Gamescom. It's called Atomic Heart. Yeah. That game looks incredible. It's
been out. Like they made announcements about this, I think almost 3 years ago now. It looks great, but it keeps getting delayed. Yeah. So
it seems so ambitious. It's like BioShock, but in Russia, and it's an open world. How awesome does that sound? That's exactly what it looks like. The aesthetic looks amazing. I only found out about this game today, and I instantly one of my most anticipated. It looks that good.
I would agree. It does look really solid, but unfortunately, I have to say that from personal experience, walking around a radioactive Russia is not nearly as fun as it sounds. It's just not as it's not. I know I thought it was going to be so cool, and then turns out it was actually kind of boring. But I mean, this is a game. They probably made it a lot more interesting than real life. So
at least the music would be good. Apparently, they got Mick Gordon from Doom.
Oh yeah. No, they've got some. Supposedly, they have some great music for that. We'll see coming down the road. Then we've got an interesting game called Spellbreak. This one came out the other day and looks interesting. We'll see. Like the art style is one of these like I don't know. It kind of looks like a cross between like cell shaded and not, but the effects from it look really really awesome. So that'll be really interesting to see kind of where that goes. Very very colorful, very lit up. Looks really interesting. Scarlet Nexus, have not seen that one yet. Need to see that one. Quantum Error, that sounds so much fun.
Hey, did you happen to see the gameplay for Scarlet Nexus?
No, I haven't yet. That's
Okay.
that's one of the ones that I haven't been able to like actually check out since it actually came out or was announced.
Well, can I just? I'm going to describe to you what the gameplay is like, and it's
Sure.
going to sound unbelievable, but when you actually see it, you'll be like, "Oh, he's totally telling the truth." Imagine Near Automata, right? That's sort of what the gameplay is like. But then the aesthetic of it, the art direction. Imagine Horizon Zero Dawn meets Silent Hill.
I thought this was an anime game though.
I know.
Cool. Whoa.
Yeah, there is anime aspects to it, but if you look at the creature design, it looks like something out of.
Okay, you're talking creature design. Yeah, yeah, it looks interesting. It'll be interesting to see kind of where that's going. This is so I have been hearing rumors that this is one of the games that was originally supposed to be like 2 or 3 years ago. They would have been coming out exclusively to the PlayStation, but now it's coming to Xbox and PC as well. So interesting, very interesting. Just goes to show that the iron grip of PlayStation on the Japanese game creators is loosening, and I think that's actually a good thing. So, I've got to say, one of my favorite games that I saw a trailer for was Bridge Constructor. Because we all know how much we love Bridge Constructor, but it's Bridge Constructor The Walking Dead.
What?
I know, they did a live action trailer for this. It's hilarious. It was really hilarious. And yeah, looks pretty. It's one of these games where it's not actually on my top list, but it's like the trailer that they made for it, pretty darn funny. Pretty darn funny.
That's great.
Then of course we have the WWE 2K Battlegrounds. That's I know everybody is super super excited for that, right? Just so excited for that. It's just we're so looking forward to, you know, that wrestling in the just really really cool. I know nobody's interested in this one. I know nobody's interested with this one. But no, seriously, yeah, Notional. The game, the Bridge Constructor looks pretty darn cool. The concept is actually pretty cool. Basically, Notional is like, yeah, it's like Lemmings but with bridges and zombies, and I'm gonna assume survivors as well. And I think that's really cool. And I'm actually like, yeah, I obviously it's not going to be a AAA, like, you know, primary game for me, but I definitely am interested in streaming this at least a little bit. So if you guys are interested in any of these titles, like let us know what you're liking and what you want to kind of get into, because we'll at least do like an offline stream of it. So. And we do. Speaking of offline streams, we do a lot of those in the Discord. So if you're interested in getting in and seeing some of the stuff, then there's some pretty cool stuff that we can show you. And occasionally, I show some game footage from games that are not released yet, that I am given express limited consent to show off a little bit here and there. And I'll do that every once in a while. So yeah, there's some cool stuff there. So, other than that, that's basically all the news that I had to cover directly, all of the big stuff. A lot of this, the rest of this stuff is going to come down to, how it actually gets, because a lot of these trailers were just trailers. They weren't actually gameplay trailers. Again, I don't know why everybody was like, hey, you remember 2012 when we showed nothing but pre-made trailers and cutscenes for games, and nobody liked that whatsoever. Yeah, let's do that again. Yeah, I don't know why, but that seems to be like, I saw a Sims 4 thing, and I rolled, because it was like, again. Does anybody even play that still?
I pop it up every now and then, but then I have to drop it. So time consuming.
It is, right? Like, I mean, Civ is really time consuming, but some of these other ones are really badly time consuming.
Like,
So
I'll play it to like a certain point, but once it gets like overwhelming, where it's basically going to consume like a really big portion of my day, more than I want to contribute to it, then I'm just like, okay, time to move on.
mm-hmm.
I am looking forward to playing the Civilization though.
Yes, Humankind. I got to mess with that. I did a bunch of private streaming for that. Really solid. Really solid. Could use a little bit of like improvements here or there. Obviously, it's still really early on. They're not close to release, and this was part of their like, making sure that it was working properly and testing it and all that kind of stuff. But really solid, looking really solid, looking really good. So, yeah. New World is going to be coming out sooner or later, spring 2021. That had some showcasing earlier on this week. I don't know if it was part of the Gamescom thing. It's looking a little bit better than where it had been looking a couple months ago, and they've changed their focus on this a couple of times, but we'll see if Amazon can actually pull out an actual like award-winning game or not, or if it's just going to be hot garbage. I'm pretty sure I'm betting on hot garbage, but it's still interesting enough that I might try it. But yeah, no, looks like hot garbage. And then, no, that's all I got. Anything from you guys? Oh, Ali Mafoo's in the chat. Flight Simulator got a 91 gigabyte patch.
Yeah, I was just looking at that too. The ginormous.
Oh, good lord! I mean, that game is a very impressive game. I'm serious. I'm serious. Flight Simulator is one of the most impressive games out there that you can find. The technology, the graphical, the mapping, like, it's all really amazing and has been done very, very well. And I'm hoping that we're going to continue to see this going forward, as Microsoft takes some of this technology and implements it into other games, because it honestly is very, very cool. Speaking of Microsoft, one of the things that I was hoping for, but turns out that we did not get, at least I'm pretty positive we did not get this. I'm going to do a quick search just in case I screwed this up. But Microsoft's Fable.
That's right.
Yeah. I was hoping to see something of it at Gamescom, to get some other tease or something.
I saw it.
There was some light info dropped, but nothing really actually, like, nothing big from what I could see. So
it's a shame.
Yeah, it's a big shame, because that's one of the big titles that I've been very interested in catching at some point. So
I really like the freedom of being able to play, like, choose your own adventure, like make your own choices.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I really like that concept behind the game. So yeah, imagine a superhero game with that technology. Absolutely, 100%. Some really great comments in here. I'm not as good as reading comments while perusing, like Ashes. Ash is really good at that.
That's fair. See another comment from Ali Mafuz where I imagine the future of games to be set in worlds without using actual world captures, and I think it's really cool because it's like even just like seeing the scope of like the other games mentioned, like just like how big they built the world with like the Skyrim mods that Max mentioned earlier, or even like just like the depth of like the cyberpunk world that we're going to dive into in a few months, hopefully.
Yeah.
Right.
Jonathan I can't say your last name. Jonathan in the chat. Quantum Error looks good. Yeah, Quantum Error does. It looks interesting. Again, one of those games where it's usually not my cup of tea, but by no means do I think that the game is less impressive because of that fact. Just because I don't like rhythm games doesn't mean that I don't find most rhythm games to be actually really well made and created decently. I've raged on that a number of times. I hate game reviewers who give the game, well, I've played this game and I really don't like racing games, so therefore I'm giving it an F because I hate racing games. Then why are you reviewing the product? Like, seriously.
IGN.
This particular case is I'm referring to another person who does that, but IGN has the same problem too, where they'll put certain reporters on games that they don't enjoy. I remember somebody did a review for an indie game that I really enjoyed, that I really liked, and they started their thing going, I absolutely hate this game. Okay, guys, I just want you to know that this game, I hate this kind of game. The genre, it's disgusting, it's boring, I hate it, I was really angry, I didn't want to cover it at all. So yeah, just bear that in mind while I trash the game for 45 minutes straight. It's like, that's not a review, dude, that's your opinion.
Yep.
And it's not a good opinion at that either.
Flight Simulator, too much water. But the Earth is 70% water. What do you expect?
Right? Oh, that's a good one. It's a good one. Oh, good Lord. Yes. So anyways, really, really solid stuff. But anyways. All right. Well, we've been going on for almost 2 hours. I think I'm going to call it here. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please hop into the Discord. We're going to be talking about a lot of these games over the next few weeks. We're going to be really deciding which ones to kind of get into. We have limited time, but this fall we're going to be streaming a lot of these things. If you guys are interested in particular types of these games or want to get involved in a great community, hop into the Discord, say hello, say hi. There's a whole bunch of interesting chat rooms. We're always having a good conversation going, and there's always somebody doing, or almost always somebody doing something there. So hop in, feel free to say hi, and yeah. And we're gonna have some great stuff. The other disappointment that I know some people have been mentioning is, yes, well, I was hoping to see something from Cyberpunk, but we saw nothing as of yet, unless I missed it, like the last time I searched a few minutes ago. Yeah. Post stream Discord chat. Yeah, we'll be. I'll hop in there if you join the stream. If you join the Discord. You can check out some of the streams that we host in there. I think that's what you were asking about. But, yes.
Jonathan in the live chat, how long will Gamescom be going on? It says here they're going to be going on until the 30th. Check online. They do have their schedule posted there as well.
Yeah, we're expecting one more. We're expecting about another 24, 30 hours of some info coming out. Most of the big stuff, all of the big announcements, all the big guns that they have already dropped. I do not expect to see any major trailer tomorrow or the next day. They had a whole bunch of streams going on today with a bunch of indie games and some other stuff. So yeah, check that out there if you want to, because there's still some very interesting stuff going on there. So
Yep.
Alrighty. Thanks, Max, for coming. Des did not wake up. He is, I think he is very much out of it. So that's totally fine. Yeah, he just woke up a few minutes ago. Poor guy. So he's been having some sleep issues. If you want to, he's going to be streaming later today as well. So if you're interested in checking out He's another autistic streamer. He does a very good job. He has got some really great content. If you check him out, say hello, tell him that Saib and the Triple S League sent him, and give him a wave hello.
Hey,
So,
so just while we're on the subject of streaming while autistic, is it okay if I plug my Twitch?
oh yeah. You're doing more Twitch stuff now, aren't you?
Yes, because I've decided to take a break from YouTube because, Simon is fully aware of how much stress YouTube can cause people, and I sort of succumbed to it. And I decided, in order to provide content for you guys, I'm going to start streaming. So if you guys want to watch me play some amazing story-focused games primarily, make sure you tune in to my Twitch. I'll put a link to it in the chat before we finish. It is twitch.tv/Max Derrat, all one word.
Alrighty, perfect. Yeah, get that up there in the chat.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll do it real quick.
And join us tomorrow. I believe we're going to be on the either Last Stone Meals or Neon Arcade is tomorrow. Join us for chatting about all things cyberpunk. There's a little bit of news coming out, and we're hopefully going to see a little bit more. But yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. Just wait for your link.
Oh, the link is up. This Inclining Pizza did it for me.
Yeah, there you go.
Good. All right, perfect. So we will see you guys sometime. See you tomorrow.
Peace.